Well, folks, what's happening? Welcome to Mentality Monsters, and today's episode is proudly sponsored by our King's Camps. We'll hear more about them later on, and a big shout out as well to Tommy for allowing us to use their facilities here today. Again, you would have seen in the previous episode, it's over now between us and Smart Home Studios. Big shout out to Nathan again. Thank you very much for everything you've done for us over the last year. And as well, I just want to give a shout out to Tommy as well. So me and Liam Ogue, a guy that I work with, we are going to be doing a challenge on Christmas Eve. So we'll be carrying 60 kg each to the top of Divis Mountain and back for 3 amazing charities. So we're going to drop the link as well for that challenge for the GoFundMe for anybody who wants to donate, no matter how big or how small. Everything is appreciated, and even if you can't donate, if you could share the link for us as well with your friends and family, it would be a great help. But today we are joined by a fellow podcast host, a very, very big following and social media presence, and also a lady who is really, really into her mental health and her mentality, and has been to Everest as well. So Caroline, we're going to let you just kind of take it off. I start all these with where are you from and what you were like as a young person.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I feel very honoured because I see the guests you have on here and they're extremely cool. So I feel completely out of my comfort zone this morning. I am from Newcastle, County Down, and I am originally a teacher, and I moved to Australia over 10 years ago and kind of changed my whole outlook on life, and it's brought me back to Ireland with a totally different mindset and kind of future goals for myself at this age now. I'm 34. I thought, I'd be 4 kids in, a husband, a nice house, and that's completely not what I want with my life at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, I just feel like I'm on a different path and I want to inspire people along the way.
I think this conversation is going to be really eye-opening for a lot of people, because we previously talked about before at the start of before we started this episode, just about the expectations and stuff like that has changed over the years from our grandparents' day to now, and what's expected. And I think just a lot of things in life which were achievable back then or were easily accessible or not nowadays, just because of economics and just the way that things are nowadays.
Yeah.
Which is something which I really want to get into. But you're from Newcastle. What was life like growing up in Newcastle? It's a lovely place where people go and spend their weekends. My sister has a caravan down there. I love Newcastle myself, but what was it like growing up there?
It's a beautiful place, it really is, but I think it takes you to leave your town or your home to realise and appreciate the beauty. Like, I didn't feel like I fitted in when I grew up. I was in a country school, surrounded by athletes, a lot of people who were big county players, and I just always felt like I'm not good at camogie, not good at football. I don't fit in around here, there's something wrong with me. So for a good part of my life, 16, 17 years, I just felt like I'm not good enough, I'm not sporty, so I don't fit in. And I think that carried me through and really led me down a path of where I was meant to go, because I was trying to find where I fitted in. Yeah. I started to go to the gym at 16 and started to love just training and doing things on my own, and that took me down a path of, right, well, where do I want to go? I don't really fit in around here, so maybe I'll travel a bit. And I kind of got my head down, went to university, went to St Mary's in Belfast here, on the Falls Road, and went on my own. Usually a lot of my friends kind of gathered in groups and stuck together and married the people we went to school with. And I think I was meant to go on this path because it then led me to a path of self-discovery. And after I graduated from St Mary's, I went over to England to teach, and that was kind of the mentality was settle down, get a permanent job, get a house, get married, and that's where I was going with my life at 22. And I was about 6 months into my first teaching post, and I was like, I'm miserable. This is not what I want. I just feel like this can't be it. I'm only so young.
What were you teaching?
English in a high school, and it was tough. The kids, some of them were only a couple of years younger than me. Like, some of them were repeating the year, they were 19, and it was just kind of this real mentality overall with everyone. Once you're a graduate, is right, that's it, fun's over. Not that I wanted to just go out and go mad and go partying, but I was like, I kind of want to see the world. So I really questioned my career and what I was doing, and I was miserable. I felt really depressed 6 months in, and I thought, this isn't for me. And I felt like I was letting down my family as well, but I was like, I don't think I want to be a teacher anymore. This isn't what I thought it would be. That's all I ever wanted to be. So I booked a ticket to Australia. It was only meant to be a return 6-month trip, just travel, get a bit of experience, and then come home, get that out of my system. And I got on that flight and I didn't return.
Long for?
It was, well, I was gone for 7 years.
7 years.
Huge homebird as well. Like I would be, even though I didn't feel like I fitted in, I missed my family a lot. I couldn't go to sleepovers, or even when I worked in England, I was flying home every weekend. But I just felt like my eyes were open to a totally different way of living, a totally different mindset. Like I continued to be a teacher out there for 7 years, but I realised that the way that we sell teaching over here as a vocation is not healthy. Like it's kind of like sell your soul, that you're a teacher 24/7 and you give up all your happiness in order to be a teacher. Whereas Australia taught me like to get up early, to go and fill your cup in the morning. Like I was up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning watching sunrise. The whole of Australia was awake. They were working out, they were swimming, and then they went to work, and they were at work for those couple hours, 6-7 hours a day. But then after that, I wasn't Miss McKenna anymore. And yeah, I just was like, God, like this isn't like something that's bought, or it's not something to do with good weather. It's just a mindset. And that brought me back home. So I'm just continuing living that lifestyle.
Where did the passion for teaching first start? Because when you were younger, as you say, you didn't fit in terms of the sports aspect, and when you're in school at that age, everyone, he plays county, or he plays for the Gaelic team, or the soccer team. That's kind of the popular people. But for you, what was your vision for yourself at that age, and where did that love for teaching, or the kind of wanting to become a teacher, where did that come from? Yeah,
good question. A lot of people don't actually know this, but I suppose like many others, you don't really know what you want to be when you're younger. And when I was about 13, there was a really sad, tragic chapter in the lives of the people in my area, where there was a chain of suicides in my school. I'd never heard of suicide. I didn't know what it was, couldn't really understand how anybody, when you're that young, to think like you're so afraid of getting old and dying, but for someone to not want to be here, it just kind of opened me up to the real world at a very young age. It was very traumatic and devastating. And there was a girl, I was always on the sideline at the football games. I was in the sub bench trying to fit in, and one of the girls that was a sub with me was one of the ones that took her own life. And it just... What
age would she have been?
She was 14.
Even a child knowing
killer, like
what suicide is, and they committed at that age. God bless them. Like it's
and I just think I wish I knew that was even a thing. Like I wish I had turned around and spoke to her and been like, how are you? But we weren't taught those things in school, and that just led me down a path of being like, there is so much more that needs to be done in school. I want to be that teacher that kind of sees these things. And it's hard for any teacher because you're under so much pressure in work. But I just wanted to be the Miss Honey of the classroom. I wanted to, regardless of the grades, just be able to check in with all the kids and be like, hey, how you doing? As time went on, and as I got into teaching, I realised that demands were just getting more and more and more. And I just thought, there's no time to even talk to kids now. It's kind of like we're under so much pressure, and I really relate to so many teachers in that. But that led me to open my own education centre 2 years ago called Nurturing Minds, and we actually teach children how to look after their mental health alongside their education.
What age range do you work?
From 5 years old right up to 18. So we have them learning and being educated about emotions, feelings, strategies. We do breath work, meditation, mindset, and just teaching them even to be like the simple things, like if someone in your friendship group is making you feel like you're not good enough, they're not actually your friends. But we weren't taught these life skills, so that is something that I do day to day now. How
did the school and the community react to these kind of chain of events back then? Were the teachers kind of putting it to one side and just moving on, or were they actually engaging with young people to try to see what was going on? Unfortunately, it was such a taboo thing, and still we're really only coming round to it, but we've such a long way to go. It was very much like if you wanted to see the counsellor and talk about this, then there will be a counsellor here once a fortnight. And I'm sure you remember in school there was always a counsellor around, but you never knew who they were, you never knew their name, you never knew them by face.
it was always in like a dark, dingy room that you could go and see, so you never wanted to go or be seen to go. So you just got on with it. You know, even like I remember going back to one of the schools to do a talk, because I do quite a lot of mental health talks, and I wanted to talk about why I was inspired to do what I did. And I remember one of the teachers saying, yeah, but we don't dwell back on that, you know. And I thought, isn't that mad? Like, we can't even talk about it now. So it was very much like, get on with it.
Yeah.
But like, I had nightmares for weeks after that, and there was no one to talk to about that or deal with it. And I really only had my parents. And I just think there was so much that could have been done back then that might have helped a lot of others. But yeah, it was bottle it up and get on with it.
And then even just going over to England, just before then, your university life up here, did you live up here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the culture like then, especially for drinking?
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the Falls Road especially as well. The Beehives is next door. There's a Mary, you know what I mean? But what was that there like living in Belfast, and did you kind of embrace yourself in that drinking culture, the Holy Lands and all that?
Yeah, I like for 4 years I don't think I did any studying, or I question how I became a teacher, because I didn't really do any work. It was 4 or 5 nights drinking a week, and I look back at that time, and I mean, it was good crack, don't get me wrong, and it was, you know, some of the best times, but I was just spiraling like everybody back then. You just drank all week, and then I would have driven home on a Thursday night or a Friday morning dying, and then I would have slept all day Friday, and then done a part-time job at the weekends, and then it was back into this cycle again. And I just remember making some really terrible choices back in the days, even just making an idiot out of myself. Like, I remember coming out of the bot one night and just completely falling on my feet because I was that intoxicated I couldn't even feel my legs anymore. And you know, that was just how it was to fit in back then. To drink yourself to oblivion. Like, I don't care when people have a few drinks and have a bit of crack, but back then it was go out to get absolutely bluttered. And yeah, it was a scary time. I look back at the photos and I'm like, geez, I don't know that girl at all. And would she have made some of the choices she made, or got herself into some of the situations? No, but that was how we socialised back then. Yeah. I think post-pandemic, we have come out awakened, many of us. Some people are still struggling. We have a lot of kids still struggling to come out of that. But there is a new generation of kids coming around. Like, I have a Pilates studio, and I have students that drive up and down to Belfast now, and they spend their student loans on a membership for Pilates instead of going out on the tear, which is class.
I think there is a big change now with drinking culture. You don't really hear a lot of it, and especially in my job as well, and like in the military, the drinking culture back in, say, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s would have been a really big thing. But even nowadays, it's very rare that people our age are indulgent in, because a lot of people can there's a lot of information out there now as well, so people can see I think especially in what you do, and then especially with what I'm doing now with the PT and stuff as well, like a hangover can knock you out of action for about 3 or 4 days, and you're not giving the person that needs your help or needs your attention the full benefit or the full time that they deserve as well, which I think is a great thing as well, that things are starting to change. But just to close up the uni life, and as a young person, would you change anything? Because I'm a big believer in everything that you've been through there, the challenging times has forged you into the person that you are today. Would you change, or do you regret anything that you've done back then?
It's funny, like, when I would get that question quite a lot, and I often have to sit on it and think, would I? Like, I wouldn't say that my time at school, at uni, were my happiest times, because I felt really lost in myself. But I wouldn't change any of it, because it led me to where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's everyone's path, as hard as it can be, and the tough lessons you have to learn along the way. It's putting you on the right path. So no, I wouldn't change anything other than I got a tattoo. That was my biggest regret. I was like, why did I do that? So the only regret I have in life is the tattoo.
It's the tattoo. Could be worse. I'm sitting Cillian Murphy on my arm for the rest.
He's cool though.
For the rest of my life. I know, but when you're
That is a cool tattoo.
when I'm sitting there at 45 or something, I'm gonna look down. Cillian Murphy's there. I just gotta tell people it's my granda. Just like, that's my granda. I went to South Africa in 2017, and we worked in townships out there, and the kids were saying, "Who is that?" And I just kept saying, "That's my granda. That's my grandfather."
Cool granda.
That is a cool granda. But see, in England as well, English teacher who's Irish. How did that go down as well? Was it intimidating because some of the people were kind of peers as well?
Yeah, like to be honest, the hardest part of teaching in England was the area I was in was one of the most impoverished areas in England, and I suppose we were kind of sold this dream. Like, me and my best friend went over and we were told, you know, you're in this amazing academy, you'll have a brand new classroom, you're in the Garden of England, it's a beautiful area in Kent. And when we got there, I suppose I kind of got my eyes open more than anything about just how little some of these children had. And I was standing there trying to teach them Shakespeare, and some of these kids, their parents hadn't come home last night, or you know, they didn't get any dinner. Their dinners they rely on in school because there's no one at home to look after them. It caused a lot of behavioural issues where, I mean, I was verbally abused, sometimes physically, in the classroom, and I couldn't understand because I was nothing but nice to these kids, but they didn't know anything but love. They didn't know how to react to love. So their reaction was always just violence. So that was a really tough lesson, but by the end of that year, I always say to this day, I've never worked a day since, because that was the toughest year, but the best lesson. And then when I left, the kids were crying, and you know, they were saying, what are we going to do without you? And I was like, geez, you call me every name under the sun.
Yeah.
But it kind of brings back that full circle of, I didn't appreciate home until I left it. You know, I thought I was hard done by, or my friends their parents were driving Mercedes and my parents were just driving a wee Jeep or whatever. And then I look and I'm like, we were so rich in that I had a uniform every day, I had a warm house to go home to, and I had parents that loved me. You know, that was the difference in so many of those poor children.
Perspective is everything when it comes to that. There, I saw like a video earlier, and there was a girl on TikTok just saying that. There, just saying like the outfit that you just went and bought, someone's been saving up 3 months to buy that, and still making like be able to afford it. And I was like, perspective is everything when it comes. When it comes to that. But Australia, you went to Australia, you say your kind of morning routine, you're up at 4 or 5 in the morning, everyone is out getting after it. What is it about the environment there that is so different to back here? Bar the weather, because the weather is a massive thing.
It rains a lot there as well, which people don't realise. I suppose my page became called A County Down Under, and the reason it did was because it really felt like a county down under. It was a home from home.
Where were you?
Sydney.
In Sydney.
Yeah. Have you ever been over?
No.
Oh, you need to go. People think I'm working for the government the way I'm like, go to Australia, but it's just, it changed my life. It's just the kind of attitude to everything. Like, you wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and there's men in their 70s jogging by you that are fitter than you. People are down at the beach getting a coffee. They're just filling up their own happiness and joy before they go on to their work.
Yeah.
I felt like here I live to work, whereas in Australia I work to live. It was a part of me, but it wasn't all of me. Even when I was in school, I would have just been in school till 7, 8 o'clock at night and trying to get everything done, and realising that the to-do list never ended, even a year on. And in Australia, like, the Australians kind of taught me, you know, do what you can and get back to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll always get people in any work environment who will run themselves into the ground and feel like you're not doing enough because they're doing more. But 90% of the Aussies kind of just taught me that it's just a bit of life, not your whole life. Also, just kind of how they like to fully embrace the weekends. And I mean, this is in all weather scenarios. Like, I'd be leaving school on a Friday, and here I would have just gone to the pub after work, and the Aussies, like the teachers I was working with, they were packing up their vans to go drive 8 hours, which they would see as nothing, and go and camp somewhere or go for a weekend away. And I was like, God, like, I would probably just sit and rot in front of the TV all weekend and be dying. And it just made me realise that there's so much more out there to give. It changed me as a person. Like, I was doing cold water dips in the morning, swapping alcohol for coffees, doing like weekend retreats, and I just realised that I didn't need any of these things. I didn't need to fit in. I didn't need to be good at camogie. I didn't need to drink alcohol, and I came out a totally different person. I haven't drank in 3 years. I don't intend on ever drinking again. I'm around people that I actually value and love and appreciate, rather than I have to be friends with them. I've known them since I was 6. So yeah, it's just overall changed my whole outlook, and I never planned on moving home from Australia. I got Australian citizenship. I told my family, that's it, I'm not coming back. And
how long did it take to get that?
Well, it took me 4 years after becoming a resident, so technically 6 years.
6 years.
And some people will never get it. Like, I was very lucky. It was just because teaching, there was a shortage of teachers, so I was able to get on a different visa. So I feel like I've got the golden ticket, like, and I thought, I'm going to try my lifestyle that I'm living in Australia at home for a year, just to kind of connect with family, see my newborn niece, and just see how it goes. Like, waking up early, still not drinking, doing my own thing, going to coffee shops and seeing what the coffee's got better since I've got home. It was awful at the beginning. And I'm here 3 years now because of that mentality, and that's my slogan, is happiness is not a postcode. I was chasing happiness in Australia, but it took me a long time to be happy out there.
I like that there, happiness is not a postcode. See, when you're out there, obviously there's a lot of Irish out there now, but were you ever do the Australians ever get sick of Irish coming over, or the Brits coming over and stuff like that there? Because I'd say when the Irish, the Scottish, the English and the Welsh all go over, there's again a big drinking culture here. There's probably a big one there as well, but I think that over in Ireland and then also in the UK can take it a bit too far.
Yeah, there was many a times, like even when I'd become a citizen, where you would have people in the workplace or people in nights out being like, there's them backpackers, there's them Irish coming over. I still get abuse online from people being like, we don't want you in our country, and I'm like, I'm an Australian now, but whatever. But yeah, you do get a bit of that. However, we are highly sought after over there for our hard work ethic. They know how hard we work, and that's why they bring so many of us over and they employ us, because we do have that work ethic. I think I have a bit of an Australian work ethic now, where I'm kind of looking at a sick day. I've never taken a sick day here because I was like, oh God, no, you can't be taking any days off. Whereas in Australia, I would be looking at the calendar going, I might take that day off to go and get my hair done.
Yeah.
It was very different. But no, we are very well respected. However, it wasn't all roses when I went over. It was a very difficult few years because you're carrying your unhappiness and baggage with you. People think, I need to get out of here, I'm not happy here. And I always say, sit with that unhappiness and deal with it, because it's going to follow you to Australia. And it happened to me. Like, I was really struggling out there. I was in a relationship for 6 years out there with a guy that I'd met at university. And I mean, we were out 3 or 4 nights a week and drinking, and there's times he wasn't coming home till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I just felt like, God, this is it. This is my life. This is who I'm going to marry.
Yeah.
I just have to suck it up and get on with it. There's something wrong with me that I don't want to do that, or I'm struggling to do it. And that is the culture. Like, a lot of the Irish, unfortunately, out there, you have a lot more money and income, so drugs and drink are a lot more accessible. You have a little bit more to spend on that, and there's a dark side to that people don't see. And a lot of families that think, my son's out there and he's doing great, and I'm thinking, your son is in a very bad drug habit that he needs to get out of. Most people grow out of it, but we call it the Peter Pan syndrome, where a lot of people just don't want to grow up.
Yeah. And
they're still in their late 30s and 40s going to the bar every night, and your life can go one of two ways in Australia, and it can be very dangerous.
Say it's about all how you apply yourself as well, and what is the brutal realities of living in Australia? Because we hear about all the glamorous and the beaches and the drinking and stuff like that, but what are the realities, the daily kind of living realities? The
realities are, you have to get up early in the morning to go to work, and like here, I was rolling out of bed at 7:30 to leave at 7:45 with a bit of toast in my hand, driving down the road. You have to travel a good bit for work. Like, nobody really has any work just down the road. You're usually travelling on public transport, most of us. Could be up to 90 minutes longer. And it takes a long time to make a living. Like, I didn't make my money in Australia until 4 or 5 years in. You're really scraping through because you're on that working holiday visa. A lot of people can take advantage of you. They think they're only here for a holiday, we'll make them do everything. And you navigate those things, and also you make friends over there, or you're trying to find a relationship, but people aren't there forever. It's kind of like an extended holiday for a lot of people. So a lot of times I was just getting these friends and thinking, right, I found my group, because it can be isolating and lonely, and then they move on. Or, you know, I was in a relationship for 6 years and my partner was no further forward in wanting to get married or settle down, and thank God now. But back then I was like, he's never going to grow up, and that's still the case for a lot of people out there, where, you know, one of my best friends is nearly in his 40s and he's still kind of acting like he's at university and messing about. So there's a lot of isolation, loneliness. You're so far away from your family. Like during lockdown, I was locked away for 3 years, couldn't get back home because I was an Australian citizen. I couldn't leave the country. So people don't see that side of it, and that's why I started my podcast, to be honest and vulnerable. You only see the pictures of Bondi Beach and think, I want to go there, they're happier right there, or look, they're on a boat party this weekend. But see, when it hits Sunday and you're on your own in an empty apartment, your mum's not cooking a fry in the kitchen, or you can't just call down the road to your family for a cup of tea, or Christmas is difficult. So there's a lot of other parts to it that people don't see.
And how did you cope with all that there, especially when you came out of the relationship and you're kind of isolated yourself? How did you cope, and how was your family with you as well?
It took a long time to cope. I spent about 3 years after that breakup just trying to really work on myself and find what made me happy. Like, I suppose when people go through that, the periods of loneliness or breakup, you kind of try and fill that quietness with just go to the pub because everyone's there. So I started to do that for a long time, where I just went out all weekend, and it felt like I was back at university. And then I was going into school on a Monday, hungover, depressed, no food in the fridge, nothing organised, wasn't fit to even train for my own mindset and mental health until Thursday because I was so dying. And then I started to kind of take a break. I think COVID really helped me, because when the pubs locked down, you really didn't have any other option but to either kind of sit at home, chill out, bake, or for me, fitness was always my...
Bake?
Like you know, to kind of relax and chill out. But because we didn't have, you couldn't really go to the pubs, or I couldn't go to school for a few weeks, so you were just chilling out. Like, it was great. But
detox.
Yeah, it was, and I liked it. Like, it was kind of the first time where I hadn't had alcohol in my system in a while, and I was like, God, I didn't realise that was, I don't feel anxious anymore, or I'm not very weepy. Like, I would have cried a lot, even just, you know, watching EastEnders or something. I'd been, that's so sad. And then after like a few months, I was like, I haven't cried in a really long time, and I didn't realise how much alcohol was impacting that. So I was on this real self-discovery, and I went into no drinking, fitness, and really found myself in that. Cold water therapy, loved that, and doing a lot of Wim Hof breathing, and that kind of was a blessing for me because it brought me to where I am.
And then the podcast itself, how was that received by people out there when you started doing it?
Yeah, it was funny. I had no intentions of ever doing a podcast or setting up a social media page. Like, as a teacher especially, you're not really supposed to have those things. So I just actually did a mental health talk for the Irish community during lockdown, where we were on a Zoom call. Someone asked me would I do it as a teacher and what techniques we're using in school. And I came on this mental health call. There was only about 30 other Irish girls on it, and I just kind of opened up about my own struggles, about how I'm finding life. And, you know, people don't realise that I've walked away from a relationship that I thought I was going to marry this guy, but, you know, I felt like this isn't what I want anymore, and I walked out. I ended up being homeless because of my decision to leave. You're 10,000 miles from your family. Your friends are each other's friends. Your home is their home. So it was a very difficult time, and I just was very honest about this. And at the end of the Zoom call, a couple of girls said to me, you know, you should record that, like what you just said, because that was very powerful, not what we were expecting. And I was like, oh, thanks, and thought nothing of it. And then a couple of weeks later, they said, you know, have you done it? And I thought, geez, I don't even know how to do those things. So I bought a $30 mic off Amazon. I put a sock over it to try and mute the sound and cancel out the noise in the background. And I just went on to GarageBand on my Mac and recorded this thing. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I just spoke from the heart and just said, look, this is the realities of living abroad. And it was just 15 minutes long, and I kind of thought, right, I'm going to put it out there with no experience or anything, just go for it. And I launched it and went to bed that night, and I thought, thank God I don't have a following on Instagram or anyone to listen to that, because that was like very honest and raw. It was like a diary, and I thought, I'm deleting that in the morning. And I got up the next morning, and the podcasts had reached thousands all over the world. Like, you can actually see, I'm sure from your end of things, you can see on the map where they are. Like, there was people from South Africa listening, New York, Brazil. Like, it was just mental. And I thought, oh dear, what have I done?
You've opened the floodgates.
Yeah, and a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, what if someone from home hears that? What if someone from my school hears that? And I just kind of felt the fear and did it anyways. And like, I mean, it has not been easy. It's been 5 years now of being honest and raw and vulnerable, and that doesn't always go too well, especially in your hometown. I'm sure you get it yourself. Who does he think he is? Yeah. So I kind of just mute out the noise and just do what I feel like. If I can help one person, like, I just wanted to be able to help someone. I was still teaching full time, and I always would give pep talks to my students, and I just thought, like, for the students that I can't reach or hear how they're doing, maybe they'll be able to just tune into this and know that they're not on their own in their struggles, and it might save a life. So that's been the forefront of everything I do.
Hey everyone, Caine here from Mentality Monsters. Time to talk about today's sponsor. If you love the thrill of winning big, then you need to check out our King's Competitions, the UK and Ireland's top spot for incredible praise competitions. They're giving you the chance to win luxury cars, dream holidays, top tech, and even life-changing cash prizes, all for a fraction of the cost. And what's the best part of this? Entering is super easy. So you just need to go on, select your competition, grab your tickets, and then you're in for a shot at winning big. With guaranteed winners in every draw and some of the most amazing prizes out there, our Kings is the place to be if you want to turn a little into a lot. So what are you waiting for? Head over to www.ourkingscompetitions.com now and grab your tickets, and you could be our next big winner. That's Our Kings Competitions, where dreams become reality, and enter today. What age were you teaching?
Teenagers again, so 11 to 18 year olds. And it's funny, like, I was teaching these amazing kids, like, looking out over the Sydney Opera House. My classroom had the view of the Opera House, and these kids came from seriously wealthy backgrounds. Like, they had holiday homes in Byron Bay, they had all the best clothes, designer school bags, everything. And some of them were so unhappy. Some of them had such bad mental health issues. Like, in Australia alone, some of the highest suicide rates in the world are in Australia, which you wouldn't think. How could they be unhappy when they have the beach at their door? Yeah. But mental health has no limits. Like, in terms of, there's no discrimination against it. Everyone can face it. And that really opened my eyes to be like, God, like, these kids are struggling too. You know, it's not just where we are in Ireland.
What was their reaction to the episodes? Did they tune in and watch it?
I actually kept it under radar for a good year. I got away with it. That's why I call myself a County Down Under. My name was nowhere on it, and on the podcast cover, it was actually the back of me facing out towards the water. I wanted to go discreet as possible so that the kids didn't hear, because I wanted to be that person and voice for people, but I also had to be very careful of my job. And yeah, it took about a year, and one of the kids just Googled my name in the classroom because they have all their laptops, and it came up, boom, and then next thing the principal knew, and I was called into the principal's office, and I thought, oh, God, but I always have kept my episodes family friendly. Like, I never talk about anything inappropriate. I never would anyways. But even my Instagram, it is for everyone. It's not, you know, explicit. It's not over, like, it's just very, I'm not going on there to pose in a bikini, you know what I mean? Like, I'm there to try and help people. And I spoke to the principal, and she was like, cool, I get it. And they were very supportive. So I got away with it for a full year, which was cool. And then after they found out, it was like, can we do a TikTok with you? And I was like, right, after class maybe, like, but let's get back to work. So we had a lot better of a bond, because they seen that I was online as this influencer, but in the classroom, if you didn't do your homework, you were in trouble.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's good as well, but like as well that the school were very understanding, because a lot of people, especially if they're wealthy school and the parents, they'd probably be thinking, or some schools would be like, what did the parents think about this year, hearing you talk about X, Y or Z, but it's classic, and I think that probably gave them a better understanding of you as a person.
Yeah.
Which can be like a big thing, because in school I would always say the teachers that I would probably have worked best for, or I've been best in class for, were people that you actually, who were sound and were genuine to you as well. But you end up moving back home, so just take me through the thought process of moving back home, and what the key deciders were for that.
Yeah, like I say, I was never coming home. I had turned my back on Ireland. I felt very let down by the system, by the education system, and because I couldn't get a job here, I had to go to England, and sure, that was not the experience I anticipated. I just had a really negative mindset on home, like, sure, everybody just goes out at the weekend and drinks, and that's not me, and that's not what I want. And I suppose I owe Ireland an apology because I realised that that was just my way of thinking. That was what I chose to believe on home, and that's how I behaved in order for those things to be attracted into my life. Going through that self-discovery in Australia, I kind of realised that I was just in the wrong frame of mind, and I needed to work on myself. So when the borders opened again, I came home for a holiday just to see everyone. I hadn't seen anyone in 3 years, and I think Ireland had changed a lot as well, in that a lot of people didn't go to the bars as much anymore. There was a lot of cafes open, run clubs, a lot more focus on fitness and well-being, a lot more discussion on mental health. And I think as difficult as the pandemic was, it brought out a beautiful side to home, and it changed a lot of people's lives for the better. Not everyone's. There was a lot of difficult stories throughout that time, but I kind of just came home and I was like, geez, like this is pretty nice.
No,
like,
it's not too bad.
Yeah, people were out hiking.
What time of year was it that you
I came home at Easter time, and I suppose that was naive in my thinking as well, because it was beautiful weather and all. I thought, home's all right. So I had my citizenship, and I kind of just felt like I was ready for a change. I had the 7-year itch, they call it, where you want to go somewhere else, and I was either going to go and live somewhere else or just go home. And my sister fell pregnant during that time that I was home for that holiday, and it was the first baby of the family. She's my younger sister. I felt like I kind of need to step up here and be there and just kind of step in a bit. So I was just coming home for the birth, and I just packed up everything. It was easier then to just pack up everything and come home for a wee bit and take a break from school. I got a sabbatical from school where they were like, you can come back. And yeah, I just, it's been 3 years. Don't get me wrong, there's been some difficult times. I've fallen into old patterns where I was staying awake till late at night, or sitting in front of the TV for hours during the day, or kind of struggling to find friends, struggling to meet people on my wavelength. But once you find them, it's kind of like gold dust. And there was, just joining run clubs and just taking myself off on traveling a bit. So I've been here 3 years, but I always say, the door to Australia is not closed. I'm going back in a few weeks. I go back every year, once a year, to kind of know that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be right now. And I do plan on going back to retire there. But right now, my parents are getting older. I want to be there for the important milestones. My niece is now 2.5. And I'm just taking in time with family, because I think when you're younger, there's always this mentality of I'll be happy when I go to Australia. I'll be happy when I get that house, that promotion, more money in the bank. But I'm trying to sit in just being present and being happy with the small wins, like just watching a Disney movie with my niece and knowing that is success rather than the big fancy car.
So would you say that your views on success and what success is to you has changed since your uni days to now? Yeah.
My vision of success back then was to find a husband and have kids, and that is definitely something I want in the future. But I'm trying to pave a way for young women to know that if you choose to do something different or take time with that, you're not a failure. There's a lot of stereotypical pressures here where I mean, I still get it where people think, what's wrong with her? She hasn't met someone, or she's not married yet, or she doesn't have kids. I get a lot of people saying, do you not want kids? Should you freeze your eggs? You're getting old. And it can be quite difficult to listen to at times. But I just feel like Australia kind of opened my eyes to a different, like, my friends out there were in their late 30s and they hadn't met anyone yet. Like, time is very different and age is very different out there. I think it's an Irish mentality thing where you have to be married by 24 or whatever. So it's made me think, I'm just going to go against the grain and deal with the hate anyways, because that's what I want to do, and that's what makes me happy. I'm not settling for just mediocre relationship or someone that I'm not really sure I want to marry, but it's time to get married. So in that way, yes, my view on success has changed. I've also left teaching. I'm not a teacher anymore. I own businesses and I strive in ways to be a successful businesswoman on my own and not depend on a man. You know, I bought my first house on my own. I got my dream car. I have a very nice lifestyle and I've done it all myself without relying on a husband, and that's the mentality I used to have.
See the challenges that you faced as a young person, and you work with young women now. What's the biggest change in the challenges faced by young people now compared to back then?
I think it's probably the drug culture. There's a huge drug culture, more than ever now, and I feel really sad for the youth right now, because even though we have this new generation of kids who are wanting to look after their mental health and their well-being, and they're really going into their fitness and nutrition, they are also very naive in that they think that drugs are the new carry-out. Like that, when we were growing up, it was WKD. The Holy Lands is a big eye-opener nowadays, where, you know, if you went into the Holy Lands on a Wednesday night, you don't hear people out drunk and roaring and shouting on their way to the bot. They're having drug-fueled parties indoors and not leaving. They've become very antisocial and very isolated, anxious. A lot of young people can't even ring the doctor's surgery now to make an appointment. They have to text. So I think they're dealing with a whole different kind of ball game, and this has come from when they were at school, those few years where they were working and learning from home, where they could turn their screens off and hide away from their real struggles. So there's a lot of work to still be done with the mental health in our younger generation, and that's something that I constantly try and raise awareness for, and why I do the crazy challenges that I do to raise money for the likes of PIP suicide, because we're not finished yet.
Speaking of the crazy challenges, Everest.
Yeah.
So just talk me through Everest, kind of from the very concept of the idea, whose idea it was, and kind of what it blossomed into, because then again there's an ITV series on your preparation for it as well. So just tell me about that experience, like in itself.
Yeah. When I came home, like I said, I've always felt like I wasn't very good at sports and didn't really fit in, but I was able to train my mindset in Australia to like kind of what you guys do in your job, you know, on another mentality. There's a part of your brain that is able, you could switch and tune into if you want to. Most people never do. But like what you're doing and risking your life and training the way you're training is unbelievable. And I suppose I just wanted to dabble into that, and I wanted to inspire people online, not just by constantly saying, look after your mental health, but by being that girl. I mean, I'm a girly girl. Like, I love makeup. I love going out, dressing up, but I wanted to be like badass, you know. I wanted to inspire people, and men as well, to do something different. I wanted to tune into the male audience, because that's where mental health needs the most focus. So I was like, right, well, what kind of mad stuff can I get up to? You know, doing a charity run and stuff doesn't appeal to me. Doing high rocks doesn't appeal to me. I want to go and risk my life in dangerous situations. So it started with going to Wim Hof, and I went and flew over to Wim Hof in Poland for a week. And I was one of the only girls there, and I was like, I've turned up to the wrong place. And I did some seriously crazy, dangerous challenges where I put my body into like very difficult temperatures where I could have died. At one point I looked down and my skin was completely blue, but in my mind I was warm. I was hiking up mountains for 5 hours in a bikini in minus temperatures and didn't feel the cold because I was completely focused.
How does one forge a mindset like that? How did you, being a country girl, a girly girl as you would say, and being able to forge a mentality like that?
It's funny because like I was out in the cold there now going, geez, it's freezing, and putting a coat on me, and I was thinking, how did I do what I did? But it was all about training my mindset and just staying focused, routine, being around the right people, muting out the noise. I go on Instagram now and I post and ghost. Like, I am not interested in filling my mind with comparison theory, like, and even comparison syndrome, sorry. You know, even for me, like when I talk about being single at my age and choosing to be single, if I went on Instagram for long enough that day, I'd be going, geez, there's something wrong with me. Everyone's posting their engagements. So I stayed very focused and strong, did a lot of cold water therapy in my own recovery for my mental health and depression, and it became something that I could just tune out the noise. Wim Hof would often say, like, when you're in the cold, you don't hear anything, like the mind goes black. And I loved that. I was like, this is the first kind of therapy, you know, even going to counselling and stuff, it felt like it would take 10 sessions before I felt like how I felt like within 3 seconds of being in cold water. It's survival mode, as you know. So that's how I was able to do it. It was either do or die, basically, and in circumstances nearly dying. I mean, there was people that had died on the Wim Hof expedition. We were jumping off like huge waterfalls into ice cold water. The woman before me broke her tailbone doing it, you know, and you're thinking, I can't do this. And then I was like, boom, focus, and jumping in. So yeah, it was mental.
That is incredible. Because what was for you on that there trip out to Poland? What was the most physically challenging aspect of it for you? But what was the most mentally challenging aspect?
I think it was the first day. I had just arrived and seen that there was so many men there, really macho, strong looking men, and there was a couple of women there, and I thought, I have totally got this wrong. This is not for me. Started talking to myself in that mindset and starting to panic. And the first challenge when we went out, like, I mean, it was thick snow. It's on my Instagram, you can go back and look at it, where they made us literally strip off in our swimsuits and get into a frozen lake. And like, I'd only been doing ice baths, like I was doing dips, but I was doing 5-minute ice cold dips maximum. And they were like, right, first challenge, 10 minutes treading in this water. And I'm not a great swimmer either. It was a big deep lake, and I got in, and you had to like all be in a circle, and you can see it online, it's really interesting, and you're holding on. So I had 2 men beside me, very strong men, and it was like, right, 10-minute countdown, and I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Was anyone allowed to talk?
You could chant, but you couldn't even catch it. You were literally, your body was in a shock where you're like, ugh, how am I going to do this? And the men beside me started to tremble, and I could feel them trembling on me 30 seconds in, and I was like, if they're not making it, I'm not making it. And I'm also trying to stay afloat. And then I just remember being like, you have no choice here. You are going to sink. Yes, someone might rescue you, but this is only the first challenge, so switch it on. And I just remember being like, boom, I don't know how I did it, but your mind is so powerful, it can overcome any of the feelings you're having in your body, whether it's a marathon, your body's starting to get tired, you can just tune it out. And next thing I looked up and they were like, 10, and that was it, the countdown to 10 seconds, and I got out of that water. And there's a part in the video you can see where they make you don't get your clothes back on straight away, but we started to like warm up our body and generate heat naturally before we put our clothes on. And I suppose in that moment, I tuned back into Caroline, and I realised what I'd just done, and my body went into shock. And you can just see me in this video kind of going, I'm starting to freak out a bit, and then next thing I just started to shut down and my body started to shake. I was hyperventilating, I was going into hypothermia, and then you can see the coach he's fully clothed like, and he's telling me you can do this, but he just goes to me, look into my eyes, focus. And then I was like, right, okay, and I was thinking, oh my God, I need my mummy, I don't know what I've done. And I just started to warm up again, and then I come back into it, and it's just such a powerful technique. And the reason I do these things is to show people, whether you're going through grief, whether you have gone through the worst situation of your life, whether you're in depression, you can get out of this. Your mind has the ability to overcome it. And that's what I wanted to inspire people on, and how I ended up climbing Kilimanjaro I'm not a hiker. And then the next thing I was like, right, what else can I do? And of course, the biggest thing then is head to Everest. So that was next on the list.
It's some story. I want to touch on just still the Poland trip. How important is confidence and self-belief in doing something like this here? Because I'd say one negative self-thought and that's you goosed.
Yeah.
So how important for you was confidence and self-belief, or was it just pure focus?
It was everything. Confidence was absolutely everything. I mean, I was out there on my own. I didn't know anybody. I kind of felt like if I don't do this now for myself, I did it for myself, which was the most important thing. I didn't do it for Instagram or for the likes. I was doing it to see how far I could push myself and how strong I was as a person. So that kind of kept me going. But there was no one there to rescue you. Like at the end of the day, you either did it or you didn't. And there was a lot of people pulled out on the first challenge. There was a lot of people got sick on the first day and didn't complete the rest. And I was there to give it my all in the hope that it would give me the tough skin to be able to. I did it just when I moved home to Ireland. And I thought, this will give me some thick skin to deal with some of the difficulties of being at home. Dealing with people, dealing with the online hate. And I did it for myself, and I think that was the most important bit. Like, if I can do this, then I should be really proud of myself.
See, when people start dropping, does that give you confidence in yourself? Like, if there is, say there was muscly buff guys there, that they're dropping, and you go, I'm still here. I'm the guy, I can do this here. Does that give you confidence, or did you not really care about anyone else because you were there just for yourself?
No, it was crazy when we did that 5-hour hike up the mountain. Before we even got to the starting point, like it was raining like this, like it was like a slushy kind of snow rain. So before we even started, I was soaked, and I brought this backpack with me and thought it was waterproof. And they give you clothes, because as soon as you get to the top of the mountain, obviously you stop, and then they're like, we need to get you all your clothes on. So you had your layers to put on at the end of the 5-hour hike. And I remember as we were walking, we were only about 20 minutes in, and I was like, you know what, my mum was right. I should not have done this. Like, she had Googled people had died on this expedition, and I just started thinking that, and I was like, my mum's right, this is really dangerous. If she knew what I was doing right now. I looked down and my hands were completely blue. And next thing behind me, a man dropped. He'd collapsed, and I kind of went, and I went into panic mode again. But at this point, I'm 5 days in, and I knew that panic mode was going to like kill me. Yeah. I was going to die if I let it. And then I just was like, it's not that you're being selfish, but there's obviously people around them looking after them. And I just was like, tune out, keep walking. And I just thought, one foot in front of the other. And I just looked down at my feet and just kept on one foot. And I mean, there was times where I was going, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then before I knew it, I wasn't cold anymore. My chest had warmed up with the breath work that I was doing, and I reached the top, and I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, whoa. And there's videos of me like cheering in my swimsuit, just being like delighted. And then I went to open my bag and put my clothes back on now that the fun had settled, and everything was soaked, like absolute. And I thought,
always waterproof your stuff.
Oh God,
always.
This bag never would advertise. I was like, oh my God, everything complete, like all my clothes. And we are like, there's no getting off this mountain other than walking back down. And then I just like, it was like the panic had set in again. The powerfulness of what you think about can overcome your whole body. My body went into complete shakes, and I was developing hypothermia. And they went into panic mode. They had the like silver foil around me, and I was not coping. And God love all of the people around me started like giving me some of their hats and their clothes, and I eventually warmed up, but I got really sick after that, and it just made me realise just how dangerous what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on the task. I was like, I don't know how I did that. It was mental. But yeah, there was times where when people dropped, I was like, game over. But you just have to like go boom, straight back in focus.
To close off on that trip there, what's the biggest lesson you learned about yourself on that trip?
That I don't need anybody in order to do the things I need to do. Like, I couldn't get a bus to Belfast when I was younger before I left to go to Australia. And like, I went on a plane to Poland by myself, never been to Poland, and was around all of these men doing extreme challenges. And I thought, you know what, like, internal happiness lies within. You don't need anyone else to be happy. You don't need anyone else for fulfillment, success. It's all within you. And there is so much power in unlocking your mindset, that we all have the ability to do. Like, I look at people online and think, how did they get to where they've got to, whatever. And it's all the success you want in your life is within you. You just have to allow it to be unlocked.
Unreal. So we'll go on here then to your next challenge. So Kilimanjaro is the next challenge. Why was that with the same kind of group, or was that just by yourself? Did you set yourself that challenge yourself?
Yeah, I built a lot of momentum online with my challenge at Wim Hof, that a lot of people then said, you know, this is class, I kind of want to get involved. And I put it out online to be like, look, I want to climb something else and do something else. And Kilimanjaro is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. And I just thought, right, let's do Kilimanjaro then.
Have you ever been scared of heights?
No, but I wouldn't be a hiker like at all. I mean,
even with the morns there, just at the doorstep.
No, I've done sleeve down it a few times, and I would nearly argue that that's just as hard as Kilimanjaro. But put it out there and got a lot of lads that were interested, which was class, because my audience would be mostly women. But I was like, this is class. Like, we're raising money for PIP suicide. Like, getting lads on board as well is just huge. And it was 7 days, and it was unreal, like absolutely unreal. But no one prepares you for summit night. Like, that night, the whole way up for the first 6 days was class. Like, you're up camping in the side of the mountain. It gets really cold, but summit night was -14, and you're at a height, like, we're over 5,000 meters, where you're nearly passing out as you're trying to get to the top. And there was times during that height, like, we got up at 10 o'clock at night, and we were going to summit for sunrise at 7 a.m. So we were up, and we'd already been hiking all day, and then at 7 p.m. they were like, right, go to bed for a few hours, we'll wake you up at 10 and we'll start the hike again. So you're sleep deprived, it's -14, you're freezing, and you start hiking and you can't see anything. And there was times where some of us fell, some of us were really sick. I'd been doing a lot of training with Patrick McKeown in Galway. I don't know if you've ever heard of the oxygen advantage method. So I'd been training my lungs in the gym for a long time with like sports masks that helped to kind of create high altitude training. So I did a lot of breath work throughout, and I just stayed focused, one foot in front of the other. I thought, I've done Wim Hof, I could do anything, and that was what carried me through every challenge in life, not just in these circumstances. And I remember, like, we were hours and hours in, and I was like, I can't do this. And then the next thing, this powerful moment happens where you just see the sun starting to, like, kind of this line across this darkness. You just see orange, and you think, I'm nearly there. And then we got to the top, and the sun comes up, and it's just the most powerful feeling. And it just really resembles the whole darkness into light, like that no matter how dark the night is, how much you're struggling, self-defeat, the sun will rise, and it just gives you this instant, like, I can do this. It was powerful. It was the most amazing experience.
Was it worth it?
Every bit of it.
Yeah.
And like, those men that take you up the mountain, the locals, the local Africans, they do that twice a month, like, and you know, some of these men just about have enough to feed their family. And just meeting those people just taught me a lot about my own life and how they could be so happy and carefree and selfless in everything that they do to make sure that you have a good time. It was just class. It was the most amazing experience.
How did you handle the weight? Because I'm assuming that you have to carry everything that you're going to eat. You're going to carry all your clothes, equipment, sleeping bag, all that there.
Yeah, well, we were very lucky in that we had a team of 100 people for my group. There was 20 of us that did it. So that involved like 100 staff, which was mad. This was all a local company, and because they actually set up, so they like have a kitchen and everything as we go along, toilets, they were carrying everything on their backs, wearing like night goodies.
All locals?
Everything. It was mental. But we had a backpack for the day that would be 20 kilos, so you have that on top of it. And it got to maybe the last half hour where I was starting to, like, before we summited, I was starting to collapse. I was exhausted at this point. And I just remember one of the locals just turning around and being like, let me carry that for you. And I was like, no, that's not your thing, that's mine. And he was like, please let me do this for you. And God love him, he carried me up the mountain in the last half hour in terms of taking my stuff so that I could just get there. But you have to limit everything, like what you have. You can't be taking all the toiletries of the day. But it was a humbling experience.
Bare necessities, I would say. And then on the Everest, so how does that come about, and how does the kind of mini documentary, the 6-part series about it, come about as well?
Yeah, I suppose once you've done tallest freestanding mountain in the world, like what's left but Everest. At this point I've done 2 major challenges, as well as like I'm working full time. This isn't my career, and I'm working full time, and I think like at this point my family were like, enough's enough, Caroline, like no more. And I was teasing the idea of Everest, but that summit night of Kilimanjaro, the lasting impact of that was like over a year. Like I was like, no more, I'm not doing any more. And when it started to wear off and the dust settled, I was like, I want one more challenge, and it has to be Everest. I started to look into summiting Everest, and like the cost in itself like is about $250,000 minimum. Do you know, like
that's
people
insane.
spend their lives like earnings on this, or they get sponsored or whatever. And then I looked most importantly at the dangers of it, and how few people reach the summit, how many people have failed attempts, and how many people don't make it. And I thought, I can't do that to my family. Like it's not fair to do that to them. But where can I go that's just as good? And I was like, Everest Base Camp, like, you know, in terms of deaths, they're a lot lower.
Even just talking about that there in terms of deaths is
madness. And I suppose I went in very naive, thinking I've done Kilimanjaro, it'd be grand. Everyone that's done both says if you've done Kilimanjaro, Everest is a breeze, base camp. But I definitely got my eyes opened. Like I didn't realise how dangerous of a situation I was putting myself in. I took another group of people as well, and it was extremely dangerous. Like, and I was getting a lot of people on, like, not too many, but they're all people being like, she's just going to base camp. And I suppose I started to believe them. I had a bit of a knock on my own confidence and thinking, I'm just doing base camp, just being base camp. But like the people that are saying that have never done it.
Yeah.
If you've done base camp, there's like a huge respect there, and then the people that go on to summit are just not human. Like they are on another level. They are incredible people, but they are also at peace with dying. And I wasn't ready to die, but when we were there, like it was difficult. I got it's called the Himalayan cough, and I thought, you know, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm doing all the training. Day 2 of, like, it was going to take 10 days to summit. By day 2 I'd caught the Himalayan cough, and it was like, you're at high altitude, you can barely breathe as it is. Try putting a chest infection on top of that. I was really, really sick, and the doctor kind of said to me, like, I don't know, Caroline, if you're going to make it. And I thought, I am going to fucking make it. Like, I don't care if I will die at the top of this. Like, I'm here now. I have promised this to the people that are following me. I'm raising money for Pip suicide. I've got to do this. And I crawled my way to the top. Like every day we stopped for lunch, everyone was having the crack, and you know, some people were getting sick and stuff, but not to the extent I was. Like I was having to go lie down for an hour so that I could just do the rest of that walk. When we were walking during the day, you really rely on those conversations with others to get you through the long days of big hiking. I couldn't talk, my voice was gone, and I was having to persevere with that, with trying to make sure that I could get to the top. So I was just having to listen in on conversations and be like, yeah. And it was mental. And then constantly steaming, putting my head into this hot water every night. I did a few videos in that and just showing the realities, because you just see people that just get the photo at base camp and you think that's achievable. And I think nowadays there are so many people doing such insane, crazy challenges. We think that it's accessible to all of us because they're like, oh, he ran a marathon, I can run a marathon. You have to really be in the mindset and the fitness levels to be able to do those things. And I think I went into it a bit naive because I thought, oh, I'm grand, I've done Kilimanjaro, I haven't trained as much this time, I'll be all right. But it was killer. We made it to base camp, but the night before we made it to base camp, I was still so sick, but I was like, I'm gonna make it, it's grand. And we got word that 2 people had died at base camp that day, like 24 hours before we got there. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's only base camp, like how did they die? And they said that, you know, they're up at that high of an altitude, they walk too fast, and they took ill at base camp, and the weather had turned. So you just assume you're going to get helicopter rescued, but if the weather's too dangerous, the helicopters can't fly in. So these people died at base camp, and it was a real eye-opener for me that this isn't just a wee achievement here. This is big ballsy stuff, like what we're doing here. Do
you have to sign a waiver before to say if anything happens?
I couldn't get insured. Like if you go to Summit Everest, you can't get any insurance that'll cover you. There is no insurance in the world that'll cover you. For my base camp insurance, it was a serious amount of money, but there was still all of these like small print of doesn't mean we're going to be able to save you. So it's crazy, like, on what you're doing. But we got there, and it's a very surreal experience. And then you get there and you see all the pods of all the people that are going on the summit. And like those 10 days of getting there, it takes 14 days in total to do base camp.
How high up is base camp?
It's over 5,000, I think it's 5,500 meters, just a little bit higher than Kilimanjaro. But like, it's another world up there. Like, you see all these it like, I would say it's like being in space, even just like
Interstellar?
granite. Yeah, exactly, like Interstellar. And you know, you see all the pods in Interstellars, or the little stations. You see all the people that are going to Everest, but they can't, when they're at base camp, they have to isolate and quarantine for like 2 weeks before they can climb. They can't get sick from anyone. So we actually were like beside them, but we couldn't get to them. And I just wanted to interview them and talk to them, and it was mad. So you got your picture at the stone, and then it was back down. And I suppose when I got down to the next place we were staying at, we had to like climb back down. You have to literally climb up to get back home. So it was another 4 days to get home. My body just shut down. I was like, I had been on adrenaline that long, wanting to get to base camp, that I took really sick that night. I thought, this is it, I'm gonna die. I couldn't breathe. I was coughing up blood. I was coughing up blood for days, but at this point it was really bad, and I had to be helicoptered. But when I got in the helicopter, the pilot, he had an oxygen tank on to keep him alive, because he's up this, I mean, you're not really meant to helicopter at that height. And I just remember going, Jesus, if he passes out and we're going through all these mountains, like this is on it. No one sees that. No one sees, they just see the picture. But he turned around to me and he says, I'm not going to be able to take you the whole way back down to Kathmandu. We're going to just have to leave you at the next base. And I was just like, I just get me off it. Like, I was so sick. So he couldn't take me to the hospital, and I ended up just being at the next station of where we were, and then having to climb the rest of the way home, 3 days more. But it was class, because I got to meet Aunt Middleton, which I was just like, this is class. If Aunt Middleton's doing the same thing as me, I'm pretty badass here.
What was he like as a person?
Oh, class.
Obviously, like, I followed stuff like just with his past and his career.
He's insane.
And what was he just like to talk to?
He was exactly what you'd hope for. You know the way they say never meet your hero? Like, he was insane. He was taking another group up. I think he'd been to base camp 3 times. And he's built like a unit, like his chest is out to here. And we're all on the same path, so like everybody goes on the same path to Everest.
Did you just like walk past him?
Just like, literally as if you're in a forest. Yeah. I was like, is that, like, I just went, Aunt, like, as if I knew him. And he was like, yeah. And he stood and he talked to us and he got photos. He was class. And he was just so sound. Class. And I said, sure, this is a walk in the park for you. And he was like, it never is a walk in the park. Everest is no one's friend, you know? Like, so it really made me think, he's right, like, you know, like, we're doing something pretty amazing here. Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't end up in the hospital. I got, like we say about, you know, regrets in life and where you're meant to be. I was meant to get sick, to get to that helicopter, to be safe enough to be able to get back down and meet Aunt Middleton. So it was an experience of a lifetime. I've
emailed him about coming on the podcast. Emailed a few of those SAS Hooters wins.
Unreal.
One's got back to me, says that he's not doing podcasts just now at the minute, so I was like, great, 100%, but still waiting to hear back from that.
Because he's a nice man, he would do it.
So that there, right, so you've obviously these challenges, you've set yourself kind of like a wee bit of, not an adrenaline junkie, but you've set yourself these wee challenges where you're constantly getting these adrenaline hits. You've came off that there, say you're back home now. Do you have an itch for something else, or what is the crack? Because doing all that there and then just going back to just your normal kind of life, I'd say it's probably a bit mad to get back into a routine like that.
Yeah, it is. Like, when I came back from there, I was like, that's it, I'm done, no more. And that was in April. I do have an itch. I don't know what I want though. Like, I see High Rocks is coming up. I'm like, no. Marathons.
I think after what you have just done, I don't think a High Rocks could.
Although I couldn't do like I commend the people that do High Rocks and marathons, because I'm like, Jesus, I couldn't do that. But I want something that like goes against the grain. I like being what people don't expect of me. Like, they hear influencer or they see blonde hair or makeup and they think she's one of them ditzy ones, and I want to be like, yeah, you think so? Where do you see this?
Do you know who you could be like? Do you ever see Stacey Solomons used to go and do all these documentary kind of things?
Yeah.
You could be like that there.
I
You
love that.
You could do that there. Because that is, it's phenomenal. See, just like hearing the story and stuff like that there, because I try to put myself in those kind of scenarios and I just go to myself, what way are you going to handle it and stuff like that there, and I think it'd be phenomenal, because I do know a good bit about carrying weight and stuff like that there, especially with work, and just when you hear about stuff like that, you know yourself. I think a lot of people underestimate even the likes of you saying carrying 20 kg, but when you take into consideration the sleep deprivation, the quality of food that you're getting as well. You're a small girl carrying a 20 kg pack. You know what I mean? A lot of people would probably just say 20 kg, sure, that's fuck all.
Yeah.
But that there over terrain like that is, not everyone can do it, so you should be proud of yourself.
Oh,
that is
thank
phenomenal.
you so much. Sometimes I say it and I'm like, it's like imposter syndrome. I don't feel like it's my story I'm telling. I'm kind of like, who's that about? But like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like,
it is.
You want to get to the end of your life and think you've done everything that you wanted to do. So I haven't found what that next challenge will be, but I just utilise all the teachings from that into everyday life. You know, when something like you get challenges, day-to-day life, people annoying you, customers that aren't happy, trolls online, family, like shitty situations, and I try and like use that inner work to help me through. But right now I'm just focusing on using those challenges to take risks in business and open businesses and challenge myself in that way. But as soon as that challenge comes along that feels like, oh, that's what I want to do next, I'll get to it. But after going to base camp, I just think I'll never summit Everest, because I know what it takes. I see what people have gone through, like the whole way up. Like I seen graveyards the whole way up, you know, people that died along the way. There's so many bodies on the mountain. That's crazy.
Insane, like, and people still want to go and do it, which is says a lot about the human mind. One person who I want to ask you about, because in my line of work you either love him or you hate him, David Goggins. So do you think he is a phenomenal athlete, or do you think he is an idiot?
It's such a controversial one, isn't it?
It is.
I really like David Goggins. I like his podcasts, I like his talks. I love following his stuff online. I know there's a lot of controversy around him. I know even like his daughter and stuff talks against him. I think in his own personal life and some of his views, I don't stand for. But in terms of his training mindset, I love that.
Phenomenal.
I love that. Like the marathons he does, the miles he runs, even like the injuries. I remember listening to one of his talks not that long ago where he'd completed one of his ultra challenges, or he was in the middle of an ultra challenge and he got an injury, and I can't remember what it was, but he went, like, he basically was like, I'm out, I'm done, I've never like failed in anything, but I can't do this, my body has given up. And he went to bed that night, and I think he was down for like 12 hours, where he was like, you know, I'm out of the race because I didn't compete. And you probably know this one, but then the next day, like say they'd all packed up, everything was done, the race was over, he got up and did it anyways, because he was like, I need to finish this. And his family were like, it's over, you don't need to do this, like it's done, sometimes you got to take the hits. And he was like, no, I'm finishing it. And he got to the end, he was like, there's no one there to cheer him on, there was no big celebration, but he finished it. And that's like, I just think that mentality is class. Some of the things he does that causes a lot of controversy, I don't get into or agree with. But anybody that's willing to push themselves to the limits and inspire other people, like the amount of men he's helped with their mental health, I'm all for.
One of the closing down questions here just is, who inspires you?
Good question.
Or who has inspired you in life?
There's a lot of people that have inspired me. I think I'm going to say one different this time. My best friend, she got diagnosed with cancer last year, same age as me, we have the same lifestyle, good crack, like, and out of the blue she got diagnosed with cancer by chance because she was in a car accident and they found it on her kidney. And I just watched her go through that process like it was a flu. She continued to work, she didn't dwell on it, she didn't lie in bed, she didn't get depressed. I know if that was me, I don't know if I would have done the same. Well, I know I wouldn't have. And I just watched her go through this like it was, yeah, this happened. It's a small procedure, in and out. And I look at her now and I'm like, wow, like, you're insanely inspiring and you don't even know it. You just didn't dwell on it. You didn't look for sympathy. You didn't milk it. You didn't let people know. You just worked your way through it. And it showed me a mindset that can actually help you in some of your darkest days. And you know that they say sometimes with people, I've had family members die of cancer and they've told us that they're dying of cancer, but they haven't told the patient, because as soon as you tell someone that, you switch off.
Yeah.
You know, your mindset, your body gives up. And I watched her be like, I'm just going to continue, like, life is normal. I'm going to continue working. I'm going to continue doing all the things I do, get up for my walks. And I really believe that that helped her through the most difficult challenge of her life.
Unreal. Fair play to her. It's again says a lot about the person as well, and not just accepting things for what they are and just persevering and pushing on, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Last question is, if you could look back now on that girl who was trying to play camogie to fit in, or not knowing what was going on, or where she wanted to go, if you could sit down with your 14-year-old self, what would you tell her about the journey ahead?
I would say that we have been made to believe that you're born to fit in, but you're born to stand out and keep doing what you're doing. Don't be like the rest of them. That's not what you want to be. You don't want to be like everyone else. Where's the fun and excitement in that? Where's the uniqueness? So stand out.
Unreal. Well, Caroline, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it.